Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Canned Air, your tribute to pop culture. I am Jeremy Colley.
I'm Jack Doherty.
And I'm Randy Hardenbrook.
And returning to the show today is a writer and director we welcomed about 3-4 months ago to talk about his new film, The Comic Shop, which at the time hadn't been released and we hadn't seen. Well, it's been released, and we've seen it. So we welcome back writer and director of The Comic Shop, Jonathan Bowen, to the show. Jonathan, welcome back, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate being here.
Appreciate you having you back. We had a great time last time. Plenty of sidetrack conversations, which I love, and I think Star Wars was very prominent on that list. I think we
clearly with that Millennium Falcon sitting there behind him.
I mean, yeah, come on, Jonathan. You're what are we supposed to do? You're making us talk Star Wars.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But it's a good problem to have. But how have you been since we last spoke, man?
Oh, pretty good. It just, a lot of promoting the movie and just kind of, I guess, you deal with your whole I don't know, looking at what people think of it, and it's always so tough, right? Because anytime you put something out there for people to see, I mean, it's up to the world to decide whether they like your movie or not. But it still can be tough. When you see somebody, oh, I really liked it, and the next person's like, oh, this movie wasn't, that good, blah, blah. But, I also always try to think, like, some of my favorite movies, there's plenty of people who don't like them either.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say. Every single movie, even the best critically acclaimed films, have naysayers. You're never going to win 100%.
Thunderbolts. Wasn't a huge fan. Jeremy loved it.
Well, see, so there you go. There's that also goes another funny way too. Is my wife and I proudly identify as two of about, I'd estimate, like 17 people worldwide who actually liked Borderlands. And I'm a gamer. I played Borderlands. So my wife thought, based on the trailer, it would be the biggest piece of crap she's ever seen, and the critics agreed that it is in fact that. So I somehow managed to bribe her with dinner to go see Borderlands, just because I'm a fan. I got to see it. I don't care how the reviews are. And did we both think it was oddly miscast? Sure. But we had a lot of fun during it. And I don't know if that's partially because the bar was set so low or what, but it's like one of those things where it's like, okay, I mean, and then I remember hearing back in the day, Waterworld, like one of the worst movies ever. And then I saw it years later and I thought it was pretty good, actually. Like, it may have been a box office bomb, but it wasn't really that bad of a movie.
I think Waterworld was such a bomb because of the amount of money they put into marketing. Do you remember the marketing on that film? It was huge, only to fall on its ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it did. It really did. And it became sort of a poster child of, what's that other one? Heaven's Gate or something like that. The older movie, there's been a couple of those poster childs of bombs.
Yeah.
And you get a new one every once in a while. I don't know if you guys remember Adventures of Pluto Nash with Eddie Murphy.
I've never seen it, but I remember it.
Yeah.
So that was another one. I didn't think it was that bad. I'm not saying it was a good movie, but every time I hear a bomb of that level, I'm totally expecting F, just absolutely awful. And I saw it and was like, it was fine. I mean, it wasn't anything remarkable, but I did think, how did you spend $100 million on this movie and why?
There's nothing better than going to a movie with super low expectations and coming out pleased and having a good time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's how I was with the Thunderbolts, Jack.
Right.
We got to get into it later, not now, but at some point, why you didn't like it.
A funny Thunderbolts one, same exact story with my wife. Oh my gosh. Because I kept telling her I'll go see a movie alone. That's fine. But I like it if she comes with, because then I can talk about it after. And so she said, no. I've been burned by Marvel too many times. I don't want to see it. I don't care. And, I'm sorry, I guess maybe unpopular opinion. I hated that trailer. I thought it was one of the worst trailers I've ever seen. There was not a single joke that landed. It was cringe throughout. So I didn't want to see it. But then when I saw the critic reviews, I was like, well, I'm going to go see it because the Fight Club trailer sucked too. And that was a great movie. So actually my wife ends up saying, I guess I'll see it with you, after a lot of begging and pleading. And we both enjoyed it. I'm not saying I personally didn't think it was amazing, but she liked it a lot more than she thought she would. And I thought, like, okay, I'm sorry, but that trailer, like, there was ways to cut that trailer. I don't hope that isn't a spoiler, but about Bob, like, not any spoiler about Bob, just having him in the trailer, even if you didn't put him in it, if it was some sort of like, oh, we're developing the secret project, like, that sounds fascinating to me as a moviegoer. Like, that would have hooked me right away, instead of seeing like these random quips, like, I love this guy. Oh, and I'm like, okay. Like, I'm not sure that's doing a lot for getting me in the theater, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, they do. I can't say anything. They do focus studies. They do, they do their research. They show these trailers to test audiences.
Sure.
It must have worked for other people, but it also rubbed me as like, you guys are trying to do a new Guardians of the Galaxy, and this wasn't that. Because I do remember that trailer too. I remember thinking like, either Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be like the greatest Marvel movie ever, or it's going to be an absolute pile of crap.
Oh yeah.
And thank God it actually was really, really good. And
It's some of the best, if not the best stuff that's come out of the MCU, in my opinion.
Right.
with the
I think
Guardians.
so too. Yeah, easily.
So
Yeah.
good. But I had the same kind of thing. Like when I first saw the Guardians trailer, I was like, of all the Marvel properties, this is what they pick. Are you kidding me? Like I was mad.
Oh, that's what I thought too. And that was like, because I'm not as well versed as you guys. So in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me! Like a talking raccoon and like all this stuff. I'm like, how is this going to work? And it ends up, it's actually, it's a great movie with a lot of action, but just even viewed purely as a comedy, it's pretty dang funny.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funnier than a lot of comedies, really.
Sure. Now, don't get me wrong. I know Thunderbolts wasn't a perfect film. I just had a great time with it because it was, I went in with low expectations. I thought it was better than I was expecting.
Me too.
I love an underdog story too, and we've been following most of these characters. Half of them I don't give a shit about, but at the same time, I like their underdog story. And I just thought it's one of the better things we've seen from Marvel in a while.
I agree.
Especially after the last Captain America. That was boring.
Yeah, so I was forced to see that alone because, like I said, my wife was pretty much checked out of the MCU, and we used to be opening night MCU every time, like in IMAX, only in IMAX. Like, so we were pretty diehard about the movies at least, and I saw some of them multiple times. Like I went to see Ragnarok, I think it was 3 times, but I think I saw it a 4th time. They did a re-release at the end of August one year. And it was just an IMAX, and it was like each Marvel movie. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it was kind of like some MCU marathon. And I just think that a lot of the movies look so good in IMAX. And I love Ragnarok, but I just love the scene with the lightning, like when he's coming down and they've got the music playing.
Yeah.
Starts kicking butt. Like I remember the first time that came on, like I got like those like goosebumps, like, oh my God, this is so cool. And then like I didn't mean to, but literally out loud was like, holy shit, yeah.
Was that the Immigrant song?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
That needle dropped about 3 times during that film, and you would think that many times is too much, but it's not.
No.
It totally worked for that. It's like, I think the other one that I just remember thinking was so cool is Guardians 2, the whole Yondu arrow scene, like throughout the whole ship. And what are they playing, like something like you're a beautiful man or something like that. It was really funny. Or my kind of man, blah blah blah. And just the slow-mo.
Oh yeah. How did that go? Come
can't
a
remember how it
little bit
goes.
closer.
Yes,
That's it. Yeah.
That's it.
So big and so strong. Yeah.
Right. And so I just thought like it was a funny choice, but also like just such a cool scene because I'm like, dude, this guy's such a badass. That is the peak of his powers.
Yeah. And those soundtracks are probably the last CDs the first CDs I bought in a long time, and the last CDs I'll probably ever buy were the Guardians soundtracks. Because for some reason I had to own the physicals of each of those movies' soundtracks.
Right.
They're
that is so funny too, because so I think one of the last CDs I bought was probably, I think it was the Rogue One soundtrack. I mean, it was probably also, I probably did buy The Last Jedi and stuff. I can't remember. They're around somewhere. But my Camaro is kind of old, so it's a 2012 and it still has a CD player
and a balcony.
Yeah, well, it's just, it's kind of funny because like I don't think about it much. I mean, cars aren't a great investment. So as much as I would absolutely love to get like that awesome new Corvette or something, I also know the thing would be worth a lot less the second I drive it off the lot.
Oh yeah.
And I work from home, so it's a silly thing, like to spend a bunch of money on a car when I don't even really drive anywhere. But so I stepped in my car the other day and I thought, I bet you they don't put CD players in any cars anymore. And then I have no like view screen, no, it's just all like old analog stuff. But I still like my car. Like it's only 20,000 miles and it's 13 years old. So I think it turns 13 next month. Yeah. But I haven't driven it much. We have an SUV we put the miles on for like usually going out together.
Yeah.
So the Camaro is more or less my like, oh, Kayla doesn't want to see the movie. I guess I'm going to take the Camaro out and go see it alone,
You know what you could get that's been serving me really well? Jack told me about this was like an aftermarket screen that mounts to your dash and like hooks up to your phone and does like
it's like the CarPlay
GPS.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the rest of the world now.
Right. Yeah. Well, it was so funny because I was sitting there like feeling like the poor one. My two friends, Jeremy and Sean, are talking about like those. I think Jeremy put the aftermarket one in, but Sean just has like, a really nice BMW because he's a radiologist. And he's like, yeah, man, I got to tell you, like, once you have that view screen, it's pretty hard to go back. And I was like, yeah, see, that's probably what I figured. I mean, there's so many things like that once we get the technology, I mean, I'll even be in a hotel room and I'm such a dork that I'll be sitting there thinking like, I'm about to say like, Alexa, turn off the lights. And I realize there's no Alexa. See, there we go. Alexa, office on. Alexa, office on. See, it doesn't listen. It doesn't listen.
Lisa's not just me.
It doesn't listen when you want her to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is every once in a while we'll be talking and she starts listening. And it's like, could you not do that? Because it's really creepy in today's world.
That's happened so many times while doing this show. I was talking with Bob Bergen, the voice of Porky Pig, and I can't remember how it came up, but he just mentioned his Alexa and it started going off. And we had to stop the show and he had to sit there and just yell at it over and over to get it to fall in line because it was not listening.
Oh, yeah, it does that sometimes. But yeah, I think with technology, it's always very tough going back unless I do like retro gaming. I'll say like I don't mind going back to some of those old games are a lot of fun, and it's not just nostalgia because I never played some of these games, but I'll get those little Evercade cartridges with a bunch of games on them and like forgotten classics and stuff. And the kind that I really like too is I'm probably using the wrong term, but like basically a side scrolling like a space shooter or any sort of like aircraft, because I know that a more modern take on that's more realistic, but those games were so tough because they're stuck on the entire screen, and it's like there's only one perfect path to go up and down and back. And I used to just think those games were so much fun, and I think there's one a 1942, the classic arcade one. I love that one, but there's some other good ones too, like there's this, I'm trying to think what it's called, but yeah, there's another one he plays like a bee or something. It's very strange, and it has some kind of disconcerting music. So like, if you play this game for like an hour, it gets in your head and it's just creepy.
Yeah, those songs that play on loops and you're sitting there just relentlessly trying. I know what you mean. They just burn into your head.
You're gritting your teeth and your eyes are tearing up because you're intently staring, trying to watch your ship and not get hit by little dots all over the place.
Right.
So you're talking like Atari 2600 kind of games.
Yeah, some stuff like that, and then even what I got like, I have the Mini for like the the TurboGrafx 16 Mini. Which is funny because I did own that console back in the day. No one had heard of it, but I remember like, if I'm not mistaken, I think my mom got it at like Costco, And so I was telling my friends about it, and they're like, "What the heck is TurboGrafx 16?" I'm like, I don't know. It's another cartridge-based thing, and it was fun, and I'll go back to old classics. Like I probably beat Earthbound like 5 times at least.
Nice.
Wow.
And then
I
I
like a
have,
really
like,
long game.
Yeah, it's long. And granted, I'll only do it every like 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Just when I'm like, oh man, I wouldn't mind another playthrough. And
Yeah.
I did a cheat file one, like one of the last times where like it's you're not altering anything. It's just there's a glitch in the game where if you like I forget what it is. You eat a certain food item before you take like a vitality capsule or something like that, and then it will use only the food item and not the capsule. So you can repeatedly use these one-time boosts. You just have to be really careful because you can actually break the game if those values exceed like 99 or something. So I got them to like 90 and just thought, let's just not push it. But it's absolutely hilarious though, because your characters are like completely superhuman. And I only did that because I beat the game so many times. I'm like, it's something new at least,
Yeah. New
Why
way to play
not?
it. It's like after I beat San Andreas, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, that I believe was one of the only GTA games that had a series of cheat codes that made you do shit like none of the other ones did. Made you super strong. You could jump 2 stories high, like all kinds of things. So I would go back in and just roid myself up and wreak havoc.
Oh, man.
Is that the one where you had to eat and exercise and you'd get bulky or you'd fat? Okay, yeah.
I mean, you didn't have to with these codes. You can just bump muscles,
Yeah.
Man,
That's so funny.
I miss old school games like with the cheat codes and like the Game Shark and stuff where you don't have to spend hours of grinding. You can just unlock everything. Sweet.
Right.
That's
Especially,
the American way.
yeah, well, especially as an adult when I've got like an hour I can actually play something.
Right.
Yeah.
Skip out all the
that's
bullshit.
true.
It's so true because there's a lot of games like even Horde mode and like Gears of War. It's extremely grindy, like to get all the cards. And I mean, you're talking like I probably put in 1,200 hours, 1,500 hours in the game.
Wow.
A lot of time. And mostly with friends, so it's mostly really fun. But I hate those times where like they've made it so it's not just grinding, but it's also RNG, right? RNGesus. So there you are playing, and you play the whole night, and you're like, well, I didn't get any of the cards I want. I just got crap. Like I got a bunch of dupes that I don't even need, and it just feels like that shouldn't be the focus. The focus should be on having fun, enjoying the game.
Yeah.
Right.
But like at the same time, you can't get around that idea that like, well, what was the point of this? Like I was trying to get that yellow card and I didn't get anything,
Yeah.
Yeah, you just felt like you pissed away at night and not had any fun at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, the worst is something like that. It's 2-hour matches when it's 50 waves. And yeah, I remember a couple fails on 48, a couple fails on 49. And just one, I remember we failed on 50. And it was just like, no one even said anything. It was just like completely dumbfounded. And then unfortunately then came after the dumbfounded, like, dude, bro, man, you can't just leave your spot in the middle of the wave, like
The finger pointing begins.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it's like, you gotta be watching the left side. Like, what were you doing over there? And then it's like, what do you mean? I was reviving, so and so. He went down in the middle. Did you not notice that? That's why I had to revive. Because
I was hung up on a corner.
Yeah.
I lagged, man. I lagged.
Next thing you know, broken controllers. And,
Oh, yeah. Seriously. Video games can be a lot of fun, but also a lot of frustration. We've been
That's right.
My friend Dimitri and I have been playing the Outlast Trials. I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
What was that one?
The Outlast Trials. It's kind of like you guys are like mental patients who are in this like really screwed up experiment, and you have to try to go through these trials to like, I guess, earn your right to leave the insane asylum. But the trials are completely, I mean, they're fucked. Like the things you do in this game's not for everyone. So one of them, it's like kill the snitch. Like somebody has been, ratting out the experiment, and you have to go like grind them into a meat grinder. It's just, it's absolutely gruesome, but it's kind of like a survival horror thing because you really don't have. There's no weapons. Like you have to run, you have to hide, you have to not be seen, and you can throw a bottle at somebody's head to like stop them, but it's more or less like there's a couple enemies and they're pretty much unkillable. So you just have to like, work your way through the trials, and it's fun. But I think personally, I think it's a game that wouldn't be fun at all solo. I know my friend has played it that way, but I'm not interested in playing unless I have friends on.
Yeah. Do you have anxiety? Play this game.
Yeah, seriously. And that's the kind of thing too, where like we finished one night a couple weeks ago where we made it to the very end of the trial, and it was like you have to push this guy through. Basically, it's another sort of grinder situation. We got him to it, and then the lady starts attacking us, ends up killing us both, and we're probably 5 seconds from beating the level. So then it's like, basically no rewards for you. I'm like, oh man, 45 minutes down the drain,
Yeah. That reminds me of, Jack, what was that game? Was it Tom Clancy's Ghostlands that we were all playing? About 4 or 5 of us. And it's like, they put in a patch or like a special thing where the predator was in the woods somewhere on this island. And like, if you could find the predator and you could take him down, like you would acquire a piece of his armor to have in game, like something you couldn't get anywhere else. We tried that shit how many times?
I don't even know.
Never once beat him. Never once whooped the predator. And then but there were a few times we came so close. We had him bleeding, and then we like, we got it this time. We got it this time. Dead.
Did you guys ever play the original XCOM, like way back in the day on PC or?
I think I played a little bit of it.
Yeah,
but I'd always get kind of jaded because I would put my friends as my team, and then they would die, and then I'd be like, "Well, I don't want to play. They're not around anymore."
That's hilarious. So, I basically, I did the thing that a lot of gamers don't approve of, but I trained my soldiers too hard for them to die. So I would save scrub the hell out of that thing. Like I would have it all like, my save files were like 2301, 2302.
Wow.
So it's like any mistake is made, like it's coming back,
Yeah.
So I played, I played legit most of the time with that cheat. That's already a big cheat. But there was something my cousin taught me, like a hex edit, and you could go into the files and alter the time units and alter the energy. And so I remember like creating these like super soldiers, and it would be the stupidest thing because the math just doesn't the math isn't mathing basically, right? So you broke in the game to the point where it says that taking an aimed shot is like a 211% chance to hit. And I'm like, no. They're either 100% is it. It either hits or it doesn't.
How are you calculating that?
Right. And so then on the lowest accuracy thing, which is supposed to be just a quick snapshot, it would still say like 117%. So I would put a guy up on the rooftop literally across the map and then like do a snapshot, and you'd have to watch it go across like 6 different screens and then perfectly hit the guy in the head.
Got snipers with 9mm and stuff.
Yeah. And it was like absolutely the most ridiculous thing. But keep in mind, I was probably like 9 or 10 years old. So it was the level of patience back then wasn't necessarily that high.
So this wasn't you, Sean, and Jeremy just a few nights ago playing.
No, definitely not. You guys noticed too, speaking of the Camaro in the movie, so that was actually my Camaro that serves as Chad's in
is that right?
Yeah, we switched out the plate because you have to use the film office gives you like some legal plates to use, and not to mention I don't really want my plate in a movie.
All right.
But it was kind of funny because indie kind of thing, and we talked about like what kind of car Chad should have. Should we rent something? And your budget is tight, and so you're just thinking, well, I mean, Chad could have the Camaro. Although I'll be honest, when the producer suggested, I kind of, I took a little bit of offense. Like, oh, I think your car would be great for Chad. I'm like, oh, great. Well, Chad is a total douche, so that's great that you think my car would be so great for that.
Was it white? I'm trying to remember. Was it white?
It's a Bumblebee, so it looks It's barely in it, but it's when he pulls up to Mike's. I won't spoil the rest of it. He pulls up.
No, I don't want to say what happens, but yeah.
And it worked well for it. Like we had one of the PAs take it and go clean it, like just make it look as nice as we could for the shot. And so I thought, all right, at least I got something out of it. Like I got a clean Camaro now after the steak.
A movie under my belt and a car wash. What more could I want?
And of course, I had to joke. I'm like, it's about time that this car got put in a movie. Like, oh wait, never mind. He's kind of been like one of the stars of a big franchise,
right? Well, man, since we've made it around to the film, I got to talk about it because again, we've seen it, and I remember the last time we spoke about this. It's like I don't know. We talked about your movie reviewing past, and some of the people you reviewed that came back at you and like with what you said, and I was like, man, now I'm kind of nervous. But now that I'm here, I'm not, because after seeing the film, it was a blast. It was a great movie. I really thoroughly enjoyed that, and I'm not just saying that because you're sitting here.
Glad you liked it.
What I have to say though is the cast. We talked about the cast before. How you pick them, where they're from. Jesse Metcalfe, Micah Giovanni, Tristin Mays, Trevor Einhorn, etc. They were great. They were so good. They worked not only well on their own, but so well together. If that makes any sense, the character relationships and like their arcs were really rich in this film. And another thing that really stood out to me that I really enjoyed, because when you say, this movie's called The Comic Shop, okay, what does that entail exactly? Is this going to be, a lot of jokes only comic nerds are going to get, or what am I looking at here? And what I found out is that it's very much like, kind of like the 70s show, if you remember that show at all,
right?
Where it's set in the 70s. The decor, the wardrobe, it's all 70s. But the show's not about the 70s. It's about all these characters having their lives, their relationships. The backdrop is just the 70s. And that's right. That's what made it work. And that's what makes this work. Comics in the comic shop are just a backdrop. They're a vehicle for all these great stories. But again, certainly not a focal point.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that was very intentional also because of my lack of necessarily knowledge of, I'm not an expert on modern comics as much. I try to do my research, and I did think it was kind of funny. There was one comment that was like, not at all like comic shop accurate. And I'm like, well, actually kind of, yeah. So the part that I was going to tell you guys is that when we went back on the release date, I just want to make a fun day of it. So we had a dinner scheduled, and I said, let's go visit the 2 comic shops that we filmed at. I mean, that's something to do. It's kind of fun. And I was going to give one of them a poster that I had on Film Corps. So I had an extra one of them from the Beverly Hills Film Festival. And I didn't look it up until the day of. And so they were like in the car, like sitting in the garage, like, okay, let's put in the GPS. And the place where where we filmed Mike's, which was 8 days of the 15-day filming, permanently closed.
Seriously?
That sucks.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Mike's kind of went the same way, both the movie and reality, And then so we went back to Torpedo Comics, which is the rival store, and they are still, they're still open, but they had 5 locations, and now they've only got 2. They had 4 in Southern California, 1 in Vegas. Now it's just 1 and 1. But it was neat. I went and did a local interview. It's for like the CW's local affiliate here in Vegas, and we did it at Torpedo Comics, which was kind of fun because I thought, hey, maybe it will help them out too. Like, maybe people will see the life-size AT-AT and the Silver Surfer and stuff like that, and want to go check out their business. Because comic stores are kind of a dying breed. I'm sure they'll survive, but there won't be as many of them as there used to be, and there already weren't as many. But I'm so glad you like, as far as the cast goes, we felt that the cast had a really good chemistry. Mm-hmm. The only thing I can say that I think is like I think it's legitimate, but I kind of think it's like a hold your horses, is people like, well, like Tristin is great. Like I actually have something up right now. I don't know why I still left it up, but people had said Another key ingredient is the addition of Alex, played by MacGyver's Tristin Mays. Her wit, intelligence, and kindness make her a pivotal part of the story. Many of the big story beats come about because of her involvement. So she got a lot of praise, but then I got a lot of people saying, well, I mean, this is just another movie where, the woman has been relegated to not like having her own true story. And I knew that was going to happen 3 years ago because it's not her story. It's Mike's story and Brandon's story. And do I wish that we could have like had the opportunity, to give Alex's character like her own, real character arc and real story? Of course, but there wasn't the time in the filming schedule. Then the movie would have to be expanded by at least 10 or 12 minutes. I mean,
oh, absolutely. And you already had, arcs going, Mike and Brandon's arc, Brandon and his father.
Right.
Then Mike and Alex. Like there were already these things. To add another one would have been probably too saturated, right?
I think I can't remember who it was. I wish I could give credit where it was due, but I want to say it was one of the ADs on the set because we were talking about it. And he's like, oh, I love Alex's character. Like, just even as she is, like, she's one of my favorites. And so we started talking about that you just have to consider, like, if this were real life, right? This was Brandon and Mike's time to change, and Kurt as well. This was his time to realize it's going to be his son's decision what to do. But like Pamela and Alex, it just wasn't their time yet. Like they have a story waiting to be told, but it's not at the exact same moment that everyone else is having a character arc because that's not reality. Like Pamela is the rock. She's the one who isn't changing, and that's good because everyone's changing around her. So we kind of need her to be this rock like my mom was, at that point. But if we were to imagine, Pamela probably has a story. When Brandon, the only son, goes off to college, she's going to need to find something to do. Maybe she starts her own charity. Maybe she gets involved in local food shelter. I don't know. And same with Alex. Like, I'm sure Alex has a story, but I feel like people think that like every movie, every character we introduce, like they need to have a fully developed story. I'm like, that's not happening in any movie. Not mine either.
And that's why sequels end up coming about, or prequels or whatever, because there are people who do want to see those extended stories, but not in this one. There'd be too many things going on. Yeah, but another thing is just how to say it. Well, just all the things you're waiting to pay off or waiting to see. Like there's so many things that have your attention throughout the film. Kind of like, well, is it? Well, see, I don't know what I can say. I don't want to say too much.
Oh, yeah.
Like, will Mike follow his dream, or will Brandon and his dad? If you want me to cut any of this out, just tell me. But like,
no, it's okay. Yeah,
like, will Brandon and his dad end up working things out, or will Mike see that Alex is into him, or whatever? There are certain things that you're like, okay, at what point will he get his store back up and running, or at what point is the dad going to tell his son that that's just not happening? They're not going to work it out. He's going to persevere no matter what. They took turns outside of my expectations, which I enjoyed the hell out of because I hate being able to predict the outcome of films, and I'm always trying to.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of fun sometimes when a movie starts trying to predict where this is going to go, what's going to happen, and I couldn't with this. So, bravo.
It's funny you say that. I mean, honestly, like that. It kind of makes my day in a sense because I was just reading some like kind of crappy comments last night, like before I went to bed. And, it just bums you out because you work so hard to make something. And, I know it's not a big deal, but somebody will just toss a comment there. And so it's so interesting and like, I guess, validating that people have different opinions because there was a couple people who said, I like this movie. It's fun, but it's way too predictable down to the last detail. And then there's another guy that said, well, it was good until the third act just takes a wild turn or something. And so I'm like, well, which is it? Is it like predictable or not?
That just sounds like generic like criticism. Like,
it's so funny. And there was two like professional reviews where one guy said, I thought it was good. I really enjoyed it, but I could have done without all Mike's drinking problems. And then another critic said, yeah, it was good, but I think it needed to lean more into the drinking stuff. Like we needed to explore that aspect more.
Yeah.
And I think that's why sometimes as a filmmaker, you just go, oh man, like, I don't know. I did what I think was right. You're not going to agree with all the decisions I made because we're all different people. And you know, might have a thought. Like for me, I thought I want to touch on the drinking thing. It's important because the real life Mike, that was an issue. In the real life Jonathan, that was an issue. Like I lost my sense of passion, and sometimes I just get bored and just decide like, no, what the heck? I'll drink a bit tonight. And it wasn't ever, just like Mike, it wasn't ever an alcoholic thing. Like it's not like I was drinking every day or every other day or anything like that. It would just be every once in a while. I just sat there and went, well, I mean, I don't have anything else to do.
Might as well get fucked up.
Yeah. And, you know, and so that's kind of what I wanted to show with Mike, is that this is a guy who's just a little listless. Like he doesn't really know where. It's not that he's not getting closer to his goals. He's not even trying. He doesn't even know what they are at this point. Like when we meet him at the start of the movie, there's no sense that this guy has a plan. you know, I'm like, what's even a plan for what's going to make him happy? Forget about the store. What kind of person does he want to be? Like, and so that's kind of what I wanted to explore a little bit. And that's why I thought if we lean too much into this, if we make the drinking a bigger problem, then it becomes an alcohol movie. That's basically, it's like an issues film about people with drinking problems. And I'm like, that's not what this movie is. And I don't want to lean too hard into it. I just kind of want to hint that there's these things go with that sort of situation he's in.
And, you know, everybody can look at the exact same thing and see something completely different. You know, what I perceive as blue might be red to you, you know, and we never really know if that's the case or not. But, you know, in the case of this drinking, the comments you got, one person saying, don't need that, another person saying, we need more. It's hard telling where those opinions are rooted, because the person who's saying, you know, I don't want to see that, they could have had, you know, maybe an alcoholic parent that maybe beat the fuck out of them. The one who wants to see more of it could just be somebody who has never had that kind of a past and just themselves likes to drink to have fun, and that's why I want to see more of it. Or, you know, it's hard to ever base where those comments come from. I'm sure it's much deeper than just a cruel opinion of your film. I don't think you should look too deeply into those things, but I think you probably already know that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And of course, I still think, well, I'm sure I can pull it up. I bet you I have the email, but one of the funniest I got was the letter from I can't remember, it was like one of the product companies. So I don't know if you guys know how this works, but usually product placement, I'm not saying always, so I'm not making a blanket statement, but you don't usually, like, let's say, approach Budweiser or Amstel Light or some, you know, whatever these things, Corona.
Right.
Usually they're represented by a bigger company that their sole job is to do product placement. So you may have a company that has like 26 snack brands, 3 beer brands, you know, 5 hard alcohol, all this kind of stuff. And when they give you clearance, it's kind of like you're clear to use any of the products that we have. And they'll help you out. They have like warehouses of stuff and they'll send you product. It's pretty awesome. Unless you're a really huge movie, then they might pay you to use it. But like most movies, they're not going to pay you to put products in it. They'll just give you the products for free and clear you. So we got a letter specifically from one of them saying, under absolutely no circumstances are any of our beer products to be featured in this movie.
Are you serious? Who?
Depictions of drinking. And of course I found it very funny because it's like, oh yeah, because none of your customers ever have a couple too many, right? But you know, they don't want to show that reality. And you know, of course, I think it's funny because I think that the depiction of alcohol in my movie is more appropriate for younger audiences rather than less appropriate. I know that might sound controversial, but if you think about it, you see these movies where, oh, well, you know, everything's going well, let's celebrate by having alcohol. Like that's in so many movies. And so even if you're 13, 14, you start thinking, oh, okay, when you're an adult and things go well, you'd go drink with friends. And at least in the comic shop, you see the dark side where it's like, well, be careful because it's not all the fun times you see in every other movie and TV show. Yeah. Like it can also be something that, you know, becomes a crutch or that becomes like not a glamorous time. Like if somebody has too much, which, again, we won't spoil anything in the movie, but, there's times where it's like, you're not at your finest. Like most of us have had one or two of those memories, unfortunately, where we embarrassed ourselves.
Sure. Absolutely.
So I think that, I think I want to make it like, of course the movie has a couple swear words, but I want to make sure that it's still appropriate for anyone, I think, who's like over 13. I do think if you're under that, I don't think you'd necessarily get much out of it. But one of my editors, not for the movie, that my editor for my company, his daughter saw the movie, and I think she's 12, and she absolutely loved it. It was probably the nicest feedback I got, because her dream is to be an illustrator. So she thought this movie was like really inspiring, and she loved it. And I thought, it's those moments where you're like, forget about, if somebody doesn't like it, that's fine, because you didn't make it for them. Like if somebody else comes and says, I love this movie means something, then I feel like at least you did something right. You made a movie that at least someone saw value in.
Yeah, and that's the mouth you give your ear to, right? You don't need to. Right. I mean, because again, it doesn't matter what you do. You're never going to get 100% approval from anyone. No. There's just people who like to bitch, even if they like it. They just like to bitch. That's what the internet was made for, built by people who like to bitch.
Right. It's so true. I don't know if you guys have noticed this too, and like this sounds like an odd like criticism of a criticism, but I think it's because, since we were talking about, I used to run websites review sites. And my thing was always that your rating needs to be accurate to your words. I can't think of much that's more important than that. And I've noticed even pro critics, they're good at it, but some of them, it doesn't make sense. Like you'll read through the whole review and it seems to be very positive. And then at the end of the review, it's like 2 stars. And you're thinking, okay, well, something's not right here. Either the words aren't matching what you thought of it, or your rating isn't matching what your words did. So I've seen some funny ones like that online where it's like, they'll say like, oh, this is a fun movie. This is cute. I like this and that, the other thing. And then it's like 1.5 stars. And you're like, what? Did you glitch out when you were like going to rate it?
1 star means you have a fucking problem.
Yeah.
Get to airing the problem.
Basically hated it. Yeah. And so that's what's weird. And it's like, I don't think that people like totally grasp sometimes like how to rate that, or they might have. I've talked to people that have very different ideas. Like I had a friend, we had this big debate about it, and I came from a perspective of school and saying, look, a 7 out of 10 isn't that great, it's a C-. And he said, no, a 7 is good, a 5 out of 10, that's exactly average, because it's halfway between them. And it was like, neither one of us are right or wrong. That just depends. And so it's like you have to explain your rating system to somebody. And I've heard other people say, look, I do it 5 stars. 4 stars is great. It doesn't mean your movie had anything. It's great. But 5 stars is all-time classic, reserved for like my 20 favorite movies of all time or something like that, right? And so then once you understand what people mean, but that's why I have a problem with some of the online rating things, because we don't know where this person's coming from. Like maybe to them 3 out of 5 means it was really good, you know? And so somebody else 3 out of 5 means it was all right.
But I mean, it's like the classic on like on a scale from 1 to 10, 5 is always the middle ground, the moderate, you know? You always either scale up or down from 5. So it's ridiculous to sit there and be like, oh, what a fun fucking movie. I had a great time. 1 star, like, huh?
I know. It is something like, I think that I didn't get this experience, to be honest, on my first movie because it was like not widely seen. That's really the truth of it, is that I didn't have to deal with some of these things of like reading about what people thought. Because I remember we had like 1 review. It was good, but it threw my lead actress under the bus. And I think that I kind of learned something there that's really good to know and interesting. Like as a director, I gave a lot of thought to this and I could not figure it out. But my lead actress in my first film was this kind of polarizing person where she got nominated for Best Actress like 3 times on my movie. And a lot of people were like, oh, she was so great. She was amazing. My best friend thought she's terrible, and he didn't mind telling me that, which, it kind of hurts my feelings because I'm also the one who directed her. I didn't really love that. And then this review said, "Oh, everyone is good except she was bad." And I would notice this a lot, is that half the people thought, "Oh my gosh, where did you find her? She was so great." The other half, "Oof, gosh, she can't act at all." And I thought, this doesn't make sense to my mind, because these people are not getting, like, she gave me the performance that I wanted.
Right.
And I got exactly what I wanted out of it. And I started realizing there's actors this way. I'll give you a good example. We all know Ben Affleck. So there's people like me who are like, I like Ben Affleck. He's been in a lot of good movies. I think he's a good actor. I might think he's a better director than he is an actor, but I think he's fine. I think he's a good actor. And then you've got other people like, I hate Ben Affleck. He's a terrible actor. Like, oh my gosh, he ruins everything. And I think it might come down to possibly like mannerisms or some sort of something that is not there in the acting, but is there in like the person,
Sure.
It really rubs people the wrong way. And there's not many actors that I think you could describe that way, but Kristen Stewart might be another one. I don't like her at all. I don't think she can act. But then the critics now are like saying like, "Oh, well, she's actually blossomed into an amazing actress." I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. So
see, I've got people on my list like that too.
George Clooney, his head bobbles all the time.
That's his
yeah,
secret.
it does. That's true. And I'm trying to think who else it was, but I just noticed this because anyways, I wouldn't want to throw them under the bus. I think they're fine. But she was doing the same mannerism in like 3 different movies. And it like almost like a kind of some weird like thing with their tongue. And I thought, well, see, I have a problem with that, because are you doing that as the actress, or is that something the character would do? And why would 3 different characters have the same bizarre manners?
Yeah.
That's you need to be aware of that. And frankly, it's not just her fault. It's the director's fault. You need to know that. You should have seen what else she's done before you even direct this movie. Right. And that's what I did. I watched the work of my actors. So I thought, do they have any tendencies that I should be aware of, or something that like maybe I want to make sure doesn't, become a distraction? And it's not like doing a weird thing with your tongue is bad acting. It isn't. But when you do it in like every single movie you're in, it becomes that you're not the character. You're just the person that you are.
Yeah.
You're just yourself,
And you're not leaving an imprint on the film, are you? You're not leaving a certain stamp or impression on the film. You're just showing up.
Right. And
you're just Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Where's my money?
Well, I was going to say with Cage, though, he does weird stuff. Like he'll pick something weird to do, like in different movies. My producer's other movie, Gunslingers, which I don't know if you guys have seen that one, but Nicolas Cage does this like raspy voice thing where he's like, "Hi guys, I'm here from," and it's just, I'm sorry, it's awful. Like, I love Nicolas Cage. I would absolutely love to work with him. He's like, I love to watch that guy. But this was one of the first performances where I'm just like, I don't understand the logic. Like, is he over the top in plenty of other performances? Of course, he's Nicolas Cage. But sometimes those are like, okay, you know what? It's so over the top, but it's kind of fun. I didn't think it was fun in Gunslingers. I didn't really get it, I guess. But but that was a choice he made for the movie, and who is anyone else to tell Nicolas Cage what to do, right?
Well, that's the thing
Nicolas
too.
Cage.
It's like I think of the Star Wars prequels, because these things are full of great actors that for some reason or another in those films aren't acting too great. And I blame George Lucas for that, because I think, maybe there was a little too much star power around him. Maybe he was a little too timid to be like, you know what, Hayden, we need to do that shit again. That was a little chalky, just being like, that was great after every take. And maybe I'm wrong in that, but that's just an example.
Faster, more intense.
Yeah. Right.
I guess that was the big thing that he always said, like,
more intense.
I guess he definitely is like a person of few words. It seems like, from what people had said. I mean, I try not to overwhelm actors with more than like one thing after a take. Luckily, I don't feel like I've ever really needed to. But I think that it's interesting, like, actors, they're very, a lot of times they're much more thoughtful than I think audiences give credit for. I do think there's a sense from audiences that, what, I mean, they're a monkey. They go up there and then they just repeat the words. I mean, how hard is it? Like, it's not that difficult. And it's like, no. Most actors need to know why they're saying something because they have to feel it internally to be able to deliver a credible performance. It's not just saying words, it's feeling the words. That's what gives you the reaction,
Yeah.
So
what's my motivation?
Right, exactly. And Jesse had one like that where he couldn't get around. It was it's not a consequential or spoiler scene at all. It's just where the character Jimmy is in the store and he's like talking about going and gambling on the strip. And so Mike goes up to the counter as Brandon's observing this real character and says, the strip was built on guys like Jimmy. He'll lose it all by dinner, Yeah. And so Jesse couldn't get around at first. He's like, why, what is this? Why am I saying this line? I don't understand my purpose for saying this line. And so he did it a couple times and it was great. There was nothing wrong with his delivery, but he didn't feel that the delivery was good because he didn't understand why he was saying it. Right. And I told him, I said, Mike is somewhat of a mentor figure, and you have to think that Brandon is sitting here looking up to this guy, the celebrity that you had in his store. And now he's talking about going gambling on the strip and how much fun it's going to be. So you're just kind of trying to almost be that little parental voice, just kind of reminding him that, hey, like gambling isn't all it's cracked up to be. You're just trying to give him a little bit of friendly advice, And so Mike was like, or Jesse said, that really helps. Like, and he really felt good about it. And then he just nailed it the next take. And he's like, thanks, director. And like, I think it was the first time all movie I got thanked for giving some advice. And
that's awesome.
It actually felt good because I was like, hey, I did something, even though it's like, it's not a big deal at all. But if you can explain things in a way to help your actor get into it, and it also lets them know that you actually thought through the line or the reason for it. Like, what if I had just looked at him and said, I don't know, dude, it's just a line. Just say it.
Yeah.
Then it's like, well, that's not a very thoughtful film if you don't even know why you have dialogue in it.
And it's going to come out flat. It's going to be so flat. There's no, like you were saying, no feeling behind the statement.
Right. So that's the big thing, I think, is just making sure that everybody's like, located where they need to be. Like, what's the importance of this scene? Why are we doing what we're doing? And
sure.
I'm glad at least for you, that came across, and
it definitely did.
I think there's, I think there's some fun moments in it. I saw a comment just this morning that it kind of made me chuckle because I had that wacky idea. Somebody's like, after seeing this movie, like I kind of want to read Techno Man.
I know.
And I love that comment because I joked with the illustrator that we should have like made one Techno Man issue.
Yeah.
And then like we could have used it to promote the movie. Like we could have given it away in comic stores or something random like that.
Still could.
Where it's like, right, like on the back cover, it's like, see the comic shop. But it was kind of fun, and like I liked being able to create this fictional character that feels part of the real world that Mike and Brandon live in.
Yeah, and would totally fit in the real pantheon of heroes, Like you can totally see it being a real title. I hope you have that character itself like protected legally and stuff in case you ever decide to pull that trigger.
It is funny you said that because I started thinking about that, and I don't think I do.
I'll cut this out. I don't want to give anyone ideas.
Right.
But like, I did think, I was like, man, if the movie had, if it had blown up or something, it would have been just fun to make like a Techno Man t-shirt or I don't know, a coffee mug or something stupid like that somebody who likes it. But it's like, it's got to be a bigger movie to do that kind of thing. Still, it's fun.
Yeah. It definitely is. I just, if it were me, the second I decided not to protect that character, that's when someone's going to steal it.
Yep.
Then I go protect it and nothing ever happens. It's
Right.
like, I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't kind of a thing. I get it though.
Yeah,
But,
I made that joke with my wife that like that studio thinking, as I said, some studio would like see the comic shop and really not have like a ton of interest in the movie or making a sequel to it, but instead they'd be like, we will hire you to write a script for Technoman. That could be our next movie. And then you're like, what? Like, you don't even like know anything about him besides this origin story base, or like this little, like what his powers are, but that's about it.
They're like, what we do know, Jonathan, is Marvel is making a killing and we need a superhero.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're like, sorry, all the other characters are taken. So, we'll take Technoman. Why not?
But it's a great name. It's a great name. It doesn't sound like some cheesy character made just for the sake of the film. That's a badass name.
Better than Turbo Man.
Fuck yeah, it is. Way better than Turbo Man.
Yep, Turbo Man. Gosh, that's funny. I remember that.
Love Turbo Man, but it's not as cool a name. But you had mentioned that your being on the show here is wrapping up kind of your publicity marketing tour, I guess, for this film. Can you talk about what you've been doing? I know you said you've done some interviews. Have there been any like theater showings, anything like that?
Well, so it's been kind of like a building sort of blitz thing where you just try to get on as many things as you can to kind of talk about it, and very different shows sometimes, which I like that. I mean, I kind of like being asked more off the wall questions sometimes, because you keep answering like, how did you get the cast? What was it like working with them? And I just started joking after about 30. I said, I just wish somebody would ask me like what was the food like on set? Or like, how was craft services? Or, like some question that no one really cares about, but that I've never been asked before. So we had our screening at Beverly Hills Film Festival last month, which was really, really fun. It was just, it was really a highlight of the whole experience. So we played on a Saturday. And Friday around 2 p.m., one of the festival organizers comes up to me and says, hey, we're going to have to move you from Auditorium 6 to Auditorium 1 because 6 seats 250, 1 seats 350, and you guys have already sold 230 tickets.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that was also with like people like me and plenty of others. We have the week-long passes, so we don't need tickets. We can just walk in. So that only left 20 open seats for literally the director and like other people like me who have the passes. So I was pretty excited and sort of like, all right, we kicked out the other movie from 1. It's ours now, And we had almost the entire cast there. I mean, down to small roles like my wife's friend Bree. She's like a half Asian girl who's in one scene, and just a friend of her and I's. And she flew down from Portland.
Wow.
Brandon's mom flew in from Oklahoma, like to see the movie there. So the only people we were missing pretty much throughout the cast, we even had, you remember Sean in the movie with the goofy guy comes in with his green screen like suit and stuff.
Yeah.
He was there. So we were only really missing Trevor Einhorn, our antagonist, and unfortunately Brandon's dad, who confirmed he got the date wrong and he wasn't able to make it. So that was kind of a bummer just because I was looking forward to having him there. But there was an awkward Eric Roberts situation where Eric was there for a short film playing before ours, which that weirded me out. Like I could not figure out like why he's even there for that. And so this thing gets out. Festival says, hey, there's Eric behind me. And I kind of was like, can I talk to him? And like, hey, it's your actor. You can talk to whoever you want, And so I go up to him and he starts being like, no, you don't get to invite me on the day of. Like, that's what. And I said, oh, no, Mr. Roberts, like, we invited you a month ago. We've invited you every day for like, the last 2 weeks. We kept reaching out. No one ever sent back. And he's like, and so he kind of stops and he's like, oh, well, gosh, I wish somebody would have told me about that. And I was like, well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'd love to have you here. And he said, well, I can't, I've got to go. I've got other commitments. And so I did get him to at least take some pictures with me on the red carpet at Beverly Hills, which was fun. I'm sad he couldn't see the movie, but at least he was there. At least he was like at the festival and there on the carpet.
Was he seemingly pissed when you first walked up?
I think he was, I want to almost read it as he was more hurt than he was pissed. Like, I think he thought that we hadn't thought of him. And I kept sending Lori, my publicist, like every couple days, and like, has Eric said anything? Has Eric said anything? Like, we'd love to have him there. And I knew that he had a short playing before. I thought maybe the festival scheduled it that way on purpose. They probably did, to see if he would come Saturday if he had two things playing. But yeah, I felt bad then because I would never want him to feel like left out or anything like that. But luckily, you know, we smoothed it over. He understood it was just like, you know, he'd never been told. I think so. His wife is his manager, and she works very hard. She's got so many things to schedule for Eric, and she's doing it all herself. So maybe she thought, well, let's see how his schedule looks as we get closer, and then just never sent us back. You know?
Yeah. Sounds like that's probably what happened. But
yeah, so it was a neat screening. It was totally full, and the reaction was really good. You know, it was really made me feel really positive about everything, and people coming up and saying how much they liked it, and there was even moments where I thought it were kind of like funny and silly, like so. There's a punch scene. Like I won't spoil it, but someone gets punched. And basically, my producer told me, we got to do this. This is what should happen. And I kind of rebelled against it at first and said, I don't know. I don't think we need that. I don't think he needs to do that. And he was telling me like, no, audiences are going to love it. It's like, it's a payoff. I mean, it's like, they're going to want this guy to get punched, you know? And so I was kind of like, okay, like, I guess, yeah, I'm not going to fight this battle. Like, it's fine. Like, we'll see. And he said, no, trust me, like audiences are going to like cheer when it happens. And I'm like, okay, let's not be dramatic. Come on. And so then in the theater, like everyone was cheering when this happened. And I just thought, all right, well,
son of a bitch.
I guess I was wrong on that one. Like, you know, I mean, it's like one of those things where that's why sometimes, you know, you try to listen to people around you. And I think I'm more of a muted person sometimes with things. Like I might lean into them being more realistic, and then he would pull it to being more movie-like, and we try to meet somewhere in the middle.
Well,
for better or worse.
It's helpful to have that person on hand though, right?
Yeah.
Better to have two heads working together than one. That's my opinion anyway, because I would fuck it up. I'd have to have that right person with me, but oh no, man. Absolutely. You make me want to make a movie, but I must also remember the last time, you know, and not only here, you know, have I heard you say it, but so many people over the years, it's like, yeah, making a movie, it's fun to have the movie now, but Jesus, I don't know if I'll ever do it again, because what a freaking nightmare.
The production part of it,
yeah, you still make me want to do it, because it sounds like even through that all, like it's a great time. You know, you got to make a great movie. It tells a great story, and you know, life is even imitating your art now, because you said Mike's is actually gone. So
actually gone. Yeah. I mean, I think it's really tough because, you know, the difference between when we talked the first time and now, you know, to be completely honest, is that there was a lot of hope at that point, and then that hope just kind of vanished. Like, I'm not saying it's totally gone, but it's not really there anymore. And so what had happened is that when we came out, when the movie was released, it was almost immediate, and I didn't know it. It was like these things happening without like me being really aware, which kind of makes you feel a little bit stupid too. So I talked to the distributor, and I said, well, now wait a minute. I just noticed this thing that said the movie is going to be available on Tubi for free on May 10. And what? Like 10 other free ad-supported streaming? And he said, well, yeah, you know, like that's the deal. And he said, so all the streamers passed on the movie. And it was like, since when? I no one have even told me this. And he said, well, don't take it too hard, because the streamers, they didn't even watch the movie. Like, you're lucky if they see a trailer, but they look at what genre they're looking at, which he said is like female skewing thrillers. That's a big one they're looking at. Christmas movies, things like that. And this doesn't really fit that, because they said that actually the women are driving the market at this point. I don't know if that means all of us guys are gaming or something. We're not watching as many movies.
It makes sense over here. I can tell you that much. That lines up over here.
Right. And so I just was like, I didn't realize. I was like, so that's it. That's game over. None of the streamers, I can't, it's just hard to believe, like with what they're playing. And so then he mentioned that with some of the movies like Cleaner. I hope this isn't. I don't think this is any sort of confidential thing. Maybe I just won't mention how many. But so Cleaner has a deal with a streamer, and that's the Daisy Ridley movie directed by the James Bond director, Martin Campbell. And they said, yeah, we want this movie. And Quiver came back and said, yeah, all right, you can have this movie, but you also have to take these 5 other small movies that we have. And they're like, okay, all right, we'll take them, you know? So he said that's kind of where the game is right now, is like maybe we can get thrown into like a bigger movie. But I just can't believe that they can't even be bothered to watch the movie. Like that's what's crazy to me. Like if they all watched it and said, you know, we just don't see an audience for this movie, or we just don't think it's good enough. I mean, all right, I guess take your licks. But if it's like they won't even watch it, I mean, what are we doing? Like you guys spend $18 billion a year over at Netflix on content. Surely you can be bothered to watch a movie that at least has a real distributor. I'm not saying was sent like right from the filmmaker or something like that, right. But you know, here's like a legitimate distributor. Freaking watch it.
You think they would go through that with a fine-tooth comb? You really do, because you know, finding these gems that you know might just end up not being seen at all, having them exclusive to their network. But I don't know. Anytime I turn on Netflix anymore, it seems like the only thing they're interested in is like murder porn kind of stuff, you know, documentaries. And it's just like, ugh, I don't even know.
You're right. It's the same kind of thing. Like it's very much like, oh, more of this. And it makes me a little mad because we pay the most for Netflix of like any service. I do not pay for Netflix so that I can sign on and see the number 2 movie is like an Italian gang film or like an Indonesian horror film. No. And it's not because I have anything against like foreign movies, but I know you didn't pay anything for that. You paid nothing for the rights to that film. Yeah. And it's like, what is this? Like I'm paying $25 a month so that you can show me like random movies from different foreign countries that weren't acclaimed. Like it wasn't like, oh, this is like the best,
like
you know,
Squid Game
Oscar for like best foreign film. Yeah, it's very strange. And because so it's
quantity over quality for them. They have so much to offer people. It doesn't matter if it's good. There's just a variety of it, and it was cheap or free to them. You know what I mean? Yes. So I mean, just like you said.
Exactly. Like they don't really want to pay much money for this stuff. And that's what makes it just a tough market. And that's kind of when the Tubi thing I knew was game over because, you know, I'm talking to Larry at Quiver and he's like, oh, well, you know, like, you know, this is our best option. And I'm not saying he's wrong, by the way. What is a better option? Hoping people rent or buy it? That's not going to happen. Like some people will, all my friends and family and the crew and, you know, and maybe some, you know, diehard comic geeks, you know, online, but it's not going to be enough. So I agree with him. Tubi was the way to go. But I said, Larry, I just got to be honest. I've heard the math on Reddit. I've heard the math from other indie filmmakers. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, there's no way to make the budget back on there. None. And he's like, well, you know, we had this Christmas movie that made $100,000 like over the Christmas season. I mean, there's this other movie that made $100,000. And they said, okay, and that's good. I mean, these are decent for Tubi and for where we're talking about. And he's like, well, yeah, but I'm not saying like, you know, those are just examples of successes. We don't know how Comic Shop will do. And I kind of had to laugh and said, so basically what you're telling me, Larry, is that our best case scenario is that we probably won't get more than 10% of our budget back. That is absolutely abysmal. Like that's a total loss, basically. Mm-hmm. And so I said, unless I'm doing the math wrong, we need 15 million people to watch it on Tubi. That's not going to happen. Like if this movie were like a decent little viral hit, we'd get what, 1 million or 2, maybe 3 million people see it. I don't know, maybe. But like you're telling me that even if that many people see it, there's no realistic chance. So it's a little bit of a bummer as a filmmaker. And that's why I would say, to your point about wishing you made a movie, it's like, it's a tough end of the journey when it's been like 3 years and we're hoping for that, you know, light at the end of the tunnel or like the fruit of your labor. And what you mostly have is just being proud of the movie and hoping some people like it. You know, that's basically where we are.
But you're also in, you know, appeal to a demographic like the comic fans who, where cult classics and stuff
Yeah.
are born. These are the
True.
people who make that kind of thing happen. And I feel like this is a kind of movie that could, I think of the movie, what was that film that came out? Was it called Fanboys, where it's like the four nerds that go out to...
I love Fanboys.
I do too, but that movie wasn't critically acclaimed or anything. It got under a lot of people's radar and went straight to DVD for, as far as I know.
Yes.
But
it's all word of mouth that way.
Exactly. It's word of mouth, and it's the people within that genre that really bring life to something. And I understand where you're coming from on, having to be on Tubi, but I don't see that as a bad thing at all. It's out there, man. It's in the ether. People can go watch it.
And that's true. And I think that there's maybe there's an aspect of like, well, maybe over time it could get there, because because it starts on Tubi doesn't mean we can't get a deal for it later. It doesn't mean it won't necessarily end up on Hulu or Netflix or something. But I think that it's like a very tough hill to climb, and you have to kind of hope it resonates. And maybe that's why I'm more like, I don't know, cued into people rating it when it's, when they give it like a mediocre rating, because they're like, well, that's not going to get us there. Like we need people to like this movie and tell other people about it. So I think that it can be a tricky journey and a tough time. Just putting yourself out there, making a movie and hoping people like it, doing it not cynically, the point was never to make money on it. Of course, it was just to make something that was personal to me. But then you realize when you do put out something personal, you're more susceptible to caring what they think. Versus like, let's just say I made like a random horror film and people are like, dude, man, that movie was crap. And you're like, yeah, well, whatever. We made what we could with the budget we had, whatever, Whereas when you kind of like tell you put so much of yourself in the story, then it's hard for it not to like sting a little.
Of course. Of course. I get that.
Human nature.
But I think people are going to love this film who haven't seen it. And I know that they can go over to your website, directorbowen.com. I don't know if there's a link there to get to the film, is there?
Yeah, there probably is, but like, I should update that as well. Like I should put the Tubi link in there, which I haven't done. Because you can also stream it on Amazon, like free with ads. I had no idea there were this many services. There's like 10 different services where you can stream it free with ads. And like, I don't even know how to say some of them. Like
Pluto, maybe?
It's like, Pluto. I've used Pluto. The one is like XUMO. So is that like Zumo or
Zumo?
Yeah, I would guess
that
so.
is.
Something like that. And there was some other one, I can't remember, like F Awesome or something. It's just funny. It's like, where did these things even come from? But I do think it's nice, and it's like not a bad way to have smaller movies in a way, because it's a risk sometimes, right? Like you might start watching a smaller indie movie and be like, what is this? Like, this is awful. I don't want to see this.
Right.
So at least if, you have a free with ads thing, you're not out the money. But I would say, if you do like it, the only thing to keep in mind is the free streaming is always just 2.0, like stereo sound. And we did a full surround mix in like a really nice studio at Anarchy Post in Burbank. So, the sound's going to be a lot better if you rent or buy it. That doesn't mean that you have to do that first. But if it's something like you saw on Tubi and we're like, man, I'd like to have a better copy of this. Trust me, it's a better copy on iTunes or on Apple TV.
I still call it iTunes too. Don't feel bad, man.
I know. I realized I messed that up. It's been iTunes my whole life. Like,
and it always will be. It's like when our grandparents would call CDs records, like or vinyls. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
man, I dated myself, my wife too. When we first started dating, I said something like, I accidentally said like the Facebook, and then she's like, the Facebook. And I'm like, yeah, that's what it was. That's what it was called. It was always the Facebook until they dropped that, like when they let you on. And I said, like, originally for us, like you had to actually put in your college email to be a member of Facebook. That's how it started. And so then I've heard people be like, oh, Facebook's for old people. I'm like, Well, it didn't used to be. It
Yeah.
used to be only
Yeah.
for us college kids, and then they started letting my grandma on or whatever. That's when they called it Facebook. It's
Yeah.
like those things where they change it, and it's hard for us to adapt sometimes. And I think I never call it the Facebook anymore, but this was like 13 years ago, so
Sure.
it was more recent.
Yeah, it wasn't decades and decades ago or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. I've got those kind of things I'll stick with. I was thinking about the other day. I always have questions on the mind, like, oh, gee, I wonder if how to do that or this or that, and then I just be like, maybe someday I'll know. And I never remember that I have a well of information in my pocket at any given time that I can find out the answer to any fucking question I want. It will never sink in, Jonathan. I will always just be like wondering,
Yeah, I've started to in the last couple weeks, probably 2-3 weeks. I've really started to use Chat GPT more, and it is funny because I think the same as you. Most of the time, I wonder something, and I'm like, oh well, maybe I'll look it up later. I forget that I could just ask Chat GPT, and it will give me usually a pretty good answer. I have to say too, some of the stuff from that, oh, it's impressive. Like, I know people are afraid of AI, but I started thinking about it, like, what could it do? And so I asked it something. I said, I don't know if this is a stupid question, but is it possible for me to paste a PDF file in here that shows what I paid, like my total company record from like October 5 through October 5? And I said, I do this annoying insurance audit every year, and it's not lined up to the calendar year, so it just really pisses me off. And I said, can you go through the document and everything marked videographer crew? Can you take those items, make them into an alphabetical list sorted by last name, and tell me what I paid every single videographer? And it said, yeah, no problem. Like, this is how I'll do it. Just paste the PDF. That usually takes me about 3 to 4 hours to get that information together, like every year. I put the PDF file in, and 5 seconds later it was done.
Oh,
Completely sorted exactly like I wanted. And so that was probably the best use I could think of with AI, where it's like, I hate doing that. It's one of the worst things I do every year. It's a total waste of an afternoon.
Yeah.
And it's just arduous data entry, basically. But that seemed like ideally suited for AI, where it's like, you're not robbing anyone of any sort of creative job. You're just doing this stupid, annoying thing that has to be done because of an annoying insurance company.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
I was
there's
like,
a crusty old man down at the insurance company just sitting in a dark corner full of cobwebs, just hearing a clock ticking, wondering why no one's coming in.
Right. Yeah.
What is
I mean,
abacus?
it's and it's one of those things I've realized, like, okay, let's put in really accurate like line items on my data entry, because then it will make it easier to process. So the other thing they've been doing lately, they didn't always do this to me, it's very annoying, is so we shoot nationwide, and they'll say something like, oh, great, well, thank you so much for the list of all the videographers. Awesome. So can you break that down into how much money that you spent per state on video? And I'm like, oh my God. And it's not as easy as you would think it is, because states on the West Coast, yeah, okay, fine, easy. If I hire somebody in LA, they're only shooting for me in California. But if I hire somebody in the East Coast, I've had people shoot in like, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York. And they'll be shooting in 3 different states unless they're Florida videographers. So then I have to go into the data and break down, all right, so I paid this guy like $6,000 last year. How much was allocated to each state? But if in each of the line items I write like paid, shoot in New York, or things like that, I can just have the AI pick that information up and do it for me. Which is great, because I have my friends say, well, what if it's not totally accurate? To be honest, I don't really care. Like, this is a stupid insurance audit that I'm required to do. But if I screw up, it's not the government. It doesn't mean anything.
Fuck it. Run with it. Yeah, I would too.
Like, oh, well.
Yeah. Can't blame you there, man.
Just make it look good, Chad.
There was the thing that I like AI most for as of late is, I can't remember which browser it is, search browser, but whatever you search, it'll bring up your top results. But now there's an AI spot there, like a Chat GPT spot, that will quickly look at like the first 4 to 5 pages and just give you a paragraph summary. So you don't got to
Right.
go digging. It gives you everything you want right there. So I love that. But
It's true. I've been really impressed by its ability to find things that I am having trouble when I Google. Like I'm going through pages, I can't find it. So a good example was like these collectibles, like the Millennium Falcon.
Mhm.
So I was kind of curious about the Y-wing that I have, and
you
so
have
I
a
just asked
Y-wing.
it.
Of course, you have a Y-wing.
Yeah, well, it was kind of funny. So I was like, you look, I know the basic idea. Like, I know that they announced an edition size of 1,000. I know that they didn't finish the edition because of low demand. Um, I can't remember what it sells for now. Like, I haven't looked it up in a while. So it gives me this whole report, and it's like, according to like most sources online, they produced fewer than 300 of them. That's why the demand skyrocketed, because the demand was low to begin with. What irony, right? That's collector psychology. No one wants it, and therefore eventually everybody wants it. Doesn't make any sense. So,
Such is life.
but it was funny. And so then it's giving me a range of value. It's like, oh, this thing goes for between like $6,000 and $10,000, but it goes for sale so rarely that it's difficult to pin down. And then I had this other thing where it's like I couldn't find anything on Google about this at all. So in the other room, I've got this George Lucas signed banner. It's huge. I think it's 3 feet by 5 feet, and I know the provenance because like the certificate of authenticity has all the info. But ChatGPT couldn't find much about it and even got some of it wrong because there's so little on the internet. So I asked it, I said, are you aware of this item ever coming up for sale in the secondary market? And it said, in 25 years, there's no record of this item ever going for sale.
Wow.
And I was like, that is incredible. I know there was only 40 worldwide, because they did they had 12 of each of these 8 designs. You could see some online, but it was like Watto, Amidala, Obi-Wan, Darth Maul, this stuff. I really wanted the Darth Maul, of course. Like, who wouldn't? And I called, they said to call at 7 a.m. It like sales start sharp. I start calling at 6:50. I get through to somebody like 6:54. Oh, the Darth Maul's already sold out. I'm like, you weren't even supposed to sell anything until like 6 minutes from now, And as like, he's telling me it's going crazy. I'm like, fine. I don't want to argue. Just is the Obi-Wan available? I'll take the Obi-Wan, And so it was one of those weird things where they had 12 of each banner, but Lucas only signed 5. And to my understanding, the other 7 of each were given away to employees or vendors or, whatever, contractors, friends and family kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I assumed, because, how collectible markets work, there'd be at least a few people there, right? Just trying to make a buck. Sure. Like call in, buy the item, put it on eBay immediately. But I checked for years and they never hit eBay. So I think it was nothing but real collectors who bought them. And as a result, there's no way to figure out the value, but at least like ChatGPT could give me an idea that no, I couldn't find any record of this item ever being sold. It's like, oh my gosh, that's wild.
Yeah, where to even start if you wanted to sell it? But I wouldn't. It's a priceless piece of memorabilia, so you never get rid of that. But maybe one day we get out to Vegas, we can stop by and take a look at your collection. Man.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Fun. Yeah. Right, that would be fun. Like, you guys, you guys go on many trips, or like you head out to the west much? Or
no, not often. But there isn't typically much to lure us out there.
Sure.
I guess, but not that I don't want to go. I mean, of course, I want to go to California and see Vegas, but we've got so many like standing invitations all along the West Coast that if we end up going, we've got a lot of shit to do. But you're on that list.
No, well, you'd always be welcome. Like, people, they sometimes get a little overwhelmed when they see all the stuff, but I used to have even more of it. I just, it's too much. Like,
yeah. I don't think we can be over stimulated anymore. As long as we've been doing this, we're pretty seasoned. So bring it on, Jonathan. Bring it
right
on. But
until then, I
want to remind people to go to directorbowen.com, find you on Instagram at Director Bowen, and I will see if I can find a link for the Tubi
sure.
presentation of the comic shop and put it in the description. But Man, I want to thank you so much for being back here. And again, congrats on this movie. I know maybe it didn't do exactly what you were wanting to, but you still made a good movie.
Still a chance. I mean, as long as people keep checking out, like you said, it's going to keep existing and being here. So
it needs a Comic-Con presence. You need to have a table at a Comic-Con. That's where you're going to get some people. Not that.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
We'll give it the old canned air bump.
Yeah, we'll put our seal of approval on the front. That'll really do it.
Yeah.
Nice.
You're welcome.
About to explode. Look out.
Yeah. But
thank you guys so much too for having me back here again. And it's always fun chatting with you guys. They're so friendly, and I am really happy and relieved that you liked the movie. That makes it better.
Me too. I really didn't want to have to come on here and be like, man, you made a shitty movie. I was not looking forward to it, but thank God I didn't have to. So, but no, again, man, thank you so much. And Jack, tell these people what they can find on our website. If it's even back up yet. Is it up yet?
Not yet.
But it will be
a couple more weeks.
All right.
First week in June.
Let's pretend it's still up.
Go to cannedairpodcast.com where you can listen, follow, subscribe, follow us on all our social media, become a patron, buy some merch, and if you'd like to be a guest and promote your work, send us an email on our contacts page.
And don't forget to find us on Instagram at canned_air and on TikTok at Canned Air Podcast. And at the website Jack was just telling you about, cannedairpodcast.com, and it's right here. There are 2 links you can support us. A Patreon link, which gets you for $5 a month access to a catalog that's 5 years and growing. Big, long. I'm kind of getting tongue-tied here. There's a lot of shit on there, people. hours of content spanning back 5 years for $5 a month. You can't beat that, I don't think. And if you don't want extra content, you'd rather just have a t-shirt or a mug or a hat or a beanie, you want to rep Canned Air that way, there's a merch link on there too where you can find such things. And Randy, what else we got?
Huge shout out to evergreenpodcast.com, the network we are so proud to be a part of.
That we are. Been with them for about as long, right? 5 years, 4 or 5 years?
Coming up on,
that. So, yeah, lots going on there. But once again, Jonathan, want to thank you so much for being here. Hope to do it again in the future. And thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And until next time, be excellent to each other.